Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast live with me, your host, Owen James. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of an opening there. That little bit of a thing. You've got to agree with that, haven't you? I mean, a Celtic top is not just for Christmas; it's for the fucking bin. Best place for it. That's after you've wiped your ass on it, maybe. I don't know. Then you put it in the bin. Janet says, hello. We are the Billy Boys. I'm not afraid to say it, Janet. We are the Billy Boys. No surrender. Yes, you need to send to yourself, Janet, here. You don't need to send to yourself. We sing it loud and proud. Absolutely agree. And sack Muir and Connor ASAP. Right, well, tonight we're going to talk through a few different things here on the channel. We're going to touch on a little bit on the VAR audio. I've got the audio to discuss, obviously, and we're also going to touch on Rangers closing in on a partnership agreement with the top Moroccan club AS FAR. We'll talk about that and what that partnership will involve and what that will hopefully lead to for Rangers. And we're also going to talk about Rangers' strongest 11 going into the weekend against Dundee on Saturday at Ibrox, 3:00 kickoff at Ibrox, including a celebration, obviously, of the 125 years of Ibrox Stadium. That is another thing for the weekend. Bobby says, hope this news from Column was on Sky News. It was on Sky Sports News, mate. I don't think it was on the actual real Sky News. Obviously, as well, if you can smash the like and subscribe to the channel, that would be absolutely fantastic as well. Dado Perso Blue Boot says, Bayer Leverkusen is contemplating a move for Rangers striker Hamza Igerman, who has garnered interest from numerous clubs across Europe due to his outstanding performance since joining Rangers. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is 100%, mate. 100% that he is attracting interest from all across Europe. He is a player who seems to be really taking off. I mean, those stats that I shared with you last night. I mean, a goal every 67 minutes and a 47 minutes and a goal and a 67% conversion rate. I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal. Are we still pretending that Frank Connor's name is O'Connor? Well, JD, whatever it is, doesn't really matter, does it? He's still a cheat. King Billy's on the wall. He is on the wall, and he is on the falls, isn't he? Right, so, I mean, let's touch on that VAR audio, guys. I mean, let's see if you can hear this VAR audio from last night, from the game of the weekend.
Okay, number 5. He's just outside the penalty. There's not much more than that. Yep. He's just outside there. It's really close. Yeah. It's more outside than it goes there. It's really close, but 100%.
So that was the audio there, and it seemed to me they were more concerned with where the body was to where the foot was. It was all about it's more outside than inside. I mean, how something could be more outside than inside, and whether that actually matters, is quite beyond me. It was crazy, wasn't it? It was absolutely crazy. And I think the other thing that kind of gets is that the whole process was so quickly looked at and so quickly got over. It was a case of that was the discussion, and then it was review complete, free kick, carry on, basically, John Beaton. And that was it. I mean, as Willie Collum said in his interview on that. So the decision. So Graham, the VAR official was Alan Muir, and the AVAR, as Willie Collum continually referred to him as, was Francis Connor. Okay, so that was the VAR and the AVAR. So the VAR was Alan Muir, and the AVAR, the assistant VAR official, was Francis Connor. So both of them then agreed that it was no penalty, that it was a free kick was the right decision. And Willie Collum is right in what he said, that they did not look into it clinically enough. They did not take enough time to break it down. They did not take enough time to actually factually check it and actually factually look at it for the decision. He said that the AVAR was taking far too much time over the paperwork, which could have been done at another time, and he wasn't actually looking at the decision. For Collum to come out, and I mean, Willie Collum, look, we've given Willie Collum absolute pelters over the last sort of 6 months to a year, haven't we? And I admit, I was the one that, has given him an absolute slaughtering over the last year. With what he said. And I'll be honest with you, Colm doesn't help himself. Of course, he doesn't help himself with what he says at times and some of his decision making in the past. But I've got to say, I give Willie Collum some actual genuine credit for what he did and what he said today. He had the courage to come out. He had the courage to come out and say that was the wrong decision, that it was unacceptable, that it was, that it was a very bad decision. And he was right. He was right. I mean, Willie Collum said this. He said it was a really, really poor decision. It's an unacceptable decision. The VAR team know that. Everybody in refereeing knows that it's unacceptable. I mean, I've had time really to sit down now and have a look with the whole statement from Rangers, the statement from Willie Collum, and it really does come to something, doesn't it, when the statement from the referee's official is stronger than the statement from Rangers. The statement that Rangers came out with today in response to these remarks. Willie Collum is been very open, very honest, very clear that it was a penalty. It should have been a penalty, and that the VAR officials have basically cocked it up, that they've made a negligent decision, they've been incompetent, and they've, really, really actually come out. Now, we can say that Collum could have come out and said it was the wrong decision, they've made a mistake, but I think, and like I said, I'm not someone, and you know me, I'm not someone who sticks up for Willie Collum. You know that I've gone after Willie Collum in the past. I've absolutely slaughtered him, in the past for his decision making. But he's come out, and I think he's been quite categorical in his statement that it's unacceptable, that it was a bad decision, it was the wrong decision, and that there has been consequences for this decision. And yeah, he did have no choice, Mark. But I think he's done the right thing. He really has. I would rather VAR was completely done away with, says Alex. I mean, I think the problem is that there's nothing wrong with the VAR system. VAR itself has nothing wrong with it. As we know, the computer systems that are used, there's nothing wrong with it. It is the idiots sat behind the screen that make the wrong decisions. I really believe that there is an element of retraining needed in this process. There is an element of, being very clear and almost in a way scripting what is to be said. Scripting, the responses to certain situations. So, for example, in that situation, was any part of his body on the line or in the box? Yes or no? And it has to be clear yes or no answers. Hi, Curry. It doesn't need to be a situation where it is genuinely discussion element. It needs to be clear. So in that situation there, on that VAR check, it should have been, right, is there a shirt pull? Yes or no? Yes. Where did the shirt pull start? Out. Did the shirt pull start inside or outside the box? Outside. Where did the shirt pull complete? Inside. Is it inside the box? Is there any reason why I should not award a penalty? No. Penalty kick awarded. And it would have been a factual penalty. As Collum said in his interview, it would have been a factual overturn. A factual overturn. Not a call the referee to the monitor, get John Beaton to have a look at it and all that. It was a factual overturn. So, the VAR officials cocked up, and they've both been stood down for the weekend. I really believe there needs to be a situation now where Muir and O'Connor, or Connor, or whatever the hell he's called. I don't care if he's called O'Connor or Connor. He's a Celtic fan. He shouldn't have been in the VAR box. Well, that's the first thing. But by that same token, there needs to be a retraining process going on. There has to be. There has to be a situation where these two are sat down, are told that the decision they have made is grossly incompetent. And it's not just that it was a game. It was a major final. It was an actual final. You cannot have decisions rushed, decisions pushed through quickly in this situation. You've got to have a situation where in the final, if it takes a little bit of extra time to go over it, to confirm it, to look at it properly, it has to be done. It's who's behind the VAR that's the problem. Absolutely. And it always will be. Patterns of assistance, says Matt Gunner. Taking away VAR doesn't get us the penalty on Sunday either. John Beaton thought it was outside the box. Now, James, I've got to say, John Beaton, nothing against John Beaton. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've refereed football games, and it is really, really hard to keep up with games. It's hard to watch everything and to be aware of everything. And I'll be honest with you, I don't blame Beaton for that decision, because he would have struggled to see where Czerny's foot was if he's watching the upper body. He would struggle to see exactly where the foot was. That is why VAR is there, to take away those mistakes. Graham Brown says, time the Rangers board start fighting the obvious corruption. What is Lawless position within the SFA? Absolutely. Congratulations to DL2. He's been a member for 11 months. Remember, it's only 99p to become a member. Bargain. Remember the missing email as well for the COVID League. What else we got here? Mark, there's nowhere further to take it. The result stands regardless. And that is the problem, isn't it? That is the problem. Scott says mostly outside means inside. Absolutely. Can't mean anything else, Scott. No, it was inside. And that's why the question needs to be clearer. Needs to be clearer. How can you change refs? Brought up supporting Celtic. You can't. I mean, honestly, there could be a situation where you've CJ says true, but I do blame Beaton for not controlling the game correctly, especially the penalty shootout. Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough, but on this one decision, you can't blame him for that decision, because it is really hard to watch everything. The only thing I'd say on that is, Matt, is what's the point? What do we get from it? There's nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. I mean, I do think that referees should be declaring openly who they support, and they should not be allowed to referee games that involve those teams. I think that is an absolute certainty. I think, that certain referees who quite clearly have Celtic bias should not be allowed to referee Celtic Rangers games. I mean, look, it is going to be really hard in the long run for non-Rangers supporting, to find non-Rangers, non-Celtic supporting referees, because at the end of the day, Rangers and Celtic are the two dominant clubs in Scotland. The vast majority of the population in Scotland support either Rangers or Celtic. It's a fact. My ex-girlfriend, she lived in Dalbeatty, which is, I think, near Dumfries, near Dumfries and Galloway, which is over an hour away from Glasgow. Yet you could split that town in half. Half of them were Celtic fans, half of them were Rangers fans. So yes, it is very hard, but you can still probably find a referee, 2 assistants and 2 VAR officials that don't support a Celtic or Rangers to be VAR officials for the Old Firm games. I think that is possible. It really is. Prove there is corruption, just like what happened to Juventus. All the same things were being said that it's coming from Celtic. And now, I mean, that is an interesting point, Matt. I mean, there was obviously the whole, that was all around, wasn't just around Juventus, it was also around AC Milan, wasn't it? It was match fixing that had gone on, and that was money changing hands, wasn't it? Everton can keep their hands off Hamza. He's an important player to us unless we get a good offer, then use that money to buy a talented striker. What about members of the SFA declaring their allegiance? That would be interesting. Very true. I'm not asking for the result to be changed, mate. I'm asking we stop getting cheated. I mean, look, like I said, there's got to be ways round this. And like I said, yes, I agree that finding non-Rangers and non-Celtic referees who can referee Rangers and Celtic games is very hard. And, that's always going to be the case. But there should be enough referees in Scotland to make sure that in an Old Firm game, you don't have a Rangers fan or a Celtic fan involved in refereeing the game. That's what I'm saying, that you shouldn't have someone sat in the VAR box who is a Celtic fan or a Rangers fan. You shouldn't have, because let's just for a minute, put the shoe on the other foot for a minute. Let's say that, that Kyogo had been pulled down on the edge of the box. It had gone to VAR, that it turned out that both the VAR officials were Rangers fans, and that they said no penalty. Okay, that it was just a free kick. Same decision that was given on Sunday. They'd be up in arms like we are, and at the end of the day, they'd be rightly up in arms. But because there'd be it's 2 Rangers fans deciding on it. And what I'm saying is, surely we can find 2 officials in Scotland who are Hibs fans, Hearts fans, Aberdeen fans, Kilmarnock fans, Livy fans, St Johnstone fans, Arbroath, Queen of the South, Dumbarton, which I think is a brilliant name for a football team, who, to actually, hopefully, that could be, that could be something that going forward is a situation. Andy, we'd love to give it a break, but unfortunately it's in the news. And, you know, the part of what we do on fan media and in podcast is to talk about what is the news at this moment in time. You know, the same way that if you were reporting international news, you would talk about the Arab-Israeli conflict, or you talk about Syria, because that's the present news. You wouldn't just completely ignore it. Matt says, I think it mainly comes down to when something goes against them. There's death threats and the address leak the guys live in. Fear these weirdos know where they stay and where the kids go to school, etc. Yeah, I mean, that's right, mate. I mean, that is disgusting. And I'll be honest with you, you know, if you are a fan who is threatening a referee or threatening a referee's family because of a decision that's been given, I'm sorry, but that is disgusting. That is an absolute disgrace. And you should be arrested. You should be sent to prison. You should be locked up, whatever. You do not threaten referees. The death threats, you do not threaten their families, and you certainly do go after their kids. You know, at the end of the day, you know, that is just wrong. And if that is, you know, that is something that has happened in the past. And like I said, if you're a fan who does that, you're a disgraceful human being. You know, and you deserve to be locked up, and you deserve to get all the punishment that is coming your way. You really genuinely do. But yeah. Look, I agree that we've got to look at solutions long term to stop this. Now, look, I'm not one to praise Willie Collum at all. You know, I've hammered Willie Collum, hammered him, but Willie Collum is, I think, starting to try and make a difference. You know, there is more transparency now in the game. You know, we certainly last season wouldn't have had the VAR audio released. We wouldn't have had the discussion, you know, that's gone on. We wouldn't have seen the footage and the VAR footage together. You know, we wouldn't have the VAR review show. So you've got to kind of admire him for that. Yes, he has still got a lot to do. Yes, he still has a duty to improve the standard of refereeing in Scotland. And I'm not just talking here about the Tierney situation. I'm talking about situations that occur all across Scottish football in lots of different games. Stuart, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. You know, it is poor. The standard of refereeing is very poor. You look at some of the decisions that are made in other games, not just those involving the Old Firm, and they're poor. And Colum has a duty of care to really try and improve those decisions and do something about the standard of refereeing. Because the standard of refereeing at the moment in Scotland is an absolute joke. It really is an absolute joke. And VAR is part of that process, but we need better training. We need better VAR officials. We need better away from the game training for these VAR officials to sit there and get these decisions right. And like I said a few moments ago, I think it almost needs to be scripted so that the answers are not discussion answers. They are very simple. Yes, no, inside, outside, penalty, no penalty. You know, very clear, specific answers. So like I said, with the Tierney incident, you say, was that inside the box? Yes. Okay, should that be a penalty? Yes. And end of discussion. You've got no clouding there, no discussion, no kind of, oh, it could be this, it could be that, it's inside, it's outside. Oh, you know, was any part of his body inside the box? Yes. Therefore, should it be a penalty? Yes. Okay, that's how it has to be. It can't be a discussion. There has to almost be a script, a clear script, yes or no, inside, outside, offside, not offside, etc., etc. You can't have it where it's coming down to discussions, because that's when things get lost. That's when there's confusion. That's when there's issues. That's when the wrong decision gets made. Airwolf, great point here. VAR officials need to be separately trained only on VAR. Yeah, I mean, I've said this in the past, in past videos. You know, when I talked about VAR, I think, you know, 2-3 seasons ago, I talked about it. And I said, look, at the end of the day, we almost need specialist VAR referees, that their sole job is just to do the VAR. They're not guys who run around the pitch on a Saturday or a Tuesday or a Sunday. These are guys who just do the VAR, you know, just do the VAR. The standard refereeing is likely poor because nobody who would be good enough wants the inevitable abuse that every referee gets. Who would want that? I mean, that's a great point, James. You know, people don't want to become referees because of the abuse. You're right, 100%. And look, I refereed at a very junior level, and the abuse you still got from parents, from support, from people on the sidelines was incredible. Absolutely incredible. And people don't want to become refs because they don't want to live with the threats. They don't want to live with the abuse. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth the hassle, is it? So why can't we hear the discussions in the VAR room? They should all be recorded. They are, Stuart. If you watch the VAR show, you can actually hear the discussions that went on. You know, you can genuinely hear the discussion that went on in the VAR room on that VAR show. with Willie Collum. So yeah, you can actually still hear them now. They are out there. You know, they are out there at this moment in time. You can listen to what they're saying. You know, that's the show. That's the show you can watch on YouTube, the VAR review, and you know you can hear the VAR. You can hear everything on that. Nut job on that occasion was bringing conspiracies up from the 80s to justify what's been happening. All these cheating calls the last 2.5 years. Since 2011, a certain team have had too much say within the Scottish football. You know that is quite possibly true. I mean, this is
already. So let's take a look first and find out what you think.
Speed. Good. Lost it.
APP.
This was the audio.
Just outside. Looks just outside.
Okay, number 5.
He's just outside the penalty area. Not much more than that. Yep. He's just outside there. It's really close. But,
Yeah.
It's more outside.
Yeah. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, yeah, give it a watch. Give it a watch. Give it a watch, guys. Give it a watch. Right, let's move along. I mean, I want to try and get away from this. I really want to show now or a podcast where we can not have to discuss this decision anymore. We can kind of move on. Right, some interesting news coming out of the club tonight is. So Carl 1872 says, when does conscious bias become corruption? Utter corruption. It's honking. This is the issue, and this is the thing that's always going to be there. I think in the Scottish game is because of this element that in Old Firm games, so many decisions at this moment in time seem to be going against Rangers. You know, there's a whole catalogue of them, and you know you can look back across the last 4 or 5 Old Firms and find things that have gone against Rangers that shouldn't have done that, and there's always going to be, I think, that conspiracy theory that there is this unconscious bias against us, you know. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Right, so let's discuss this. Let's try and get away from the VAR discussion now, and let's move along and let's talk a little bit about this new situation with the possible link up. Now, apparently Niels Koppen is working on an agreement with a Moroccan club to link up, have a link up between the two clubs. The club that is in mention is this club here, Association Sportive des Forces Armées Royales, who are based in Rabat, the country's capital, also known as AS FAR, also known as AS Rabat. Now, some of you may have heard of AS Rabat. Why have you heard of AS Rabat? Why have you heard of AS FAR? Because that is where we got Hamza Igerman from. So he's a player. He's obviously a player that came from Morocco. He came from this club, AS FAR. They are a club that play in Rabat. They have 53,000 capacity stadium. They have a French manager called Hubert Velou. They have a president called G. Mohamed Hamarou. And they finished second in their league last season. Now, according to a number of sources that are being currently reported, Rangers are exploring and close to agreeing a tie-up between the two clubs. Now, this is all part of this process of trying to use untapped markets and trying to find, you know, different ways of bringing in young players and developing young players. Now, AS Rabat in Morocco, signing this link deal with Rangers sounds very much like the agreement that Norgesland have with Dare to Dream Academy in Ghana. That's, you know, that young players will come through the Rabat system and then be fast-tracked into Europe, fast-tracked into Rangers. You know, and Igerman seems to obviously be the first of many. His former teammate, apparently Hatim Essouabi, is also apparently on Koppen's shopping list. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Now, according to the main Moroccan news outlet tonight, AS FAR and Rangers are set to sign a partnership that will pave the way for young talents from AS FAR's academy to make an earlier move to Europe. The deal will also see friendly matches scheduled between the two clubs, strengthening ties between them. This partnership, Morocco report, will be a huge step in the development of AS FAR's rising stars. this is something that apparently Rangers are exploring, looking into more partnerships with different clubs around the world. According to other reports in other media sources, Rangers are also looking into ties with other clubs in Africa and also other clubs in South America. And this is very much following the kind of model that Diomande took to come from the Ivory Coast to Ghana to Europe, and bringing through players like that, and putting into a situation where players could even go on loan to Rabat or could go on loan to South American clubs to get them more first team experience. That appears to be the kind of way of working, the kind of way of developing these players. Now, I don't know if any of you watched the Glasgow Cup final the other day, and Rangers B team stars played well, but they all kind of looked rusty in a way. They looked like they hadn't played a lot of football, which they haven't. And part of the issue we've got at the moment is that our young players are just not getting enough football. There isn't enough football out there, with the fact we don't play in the Highland League or the Lowland League or whatever the hell league was, or the Midland League or the Middle Earth League or whatever league we played in. These players are not getting a lot of experience. So, it's about, for me, Coppen's starting to widen the vision. It's about him looking at ways of developing links with clubs. It's about him looking at different ways to bring in this club, these young players. Now, the more young players we can bring in, the more talented players we can sign from different clubs and from different areas, it really does help with this trading model. Now, yes, there may be a situation that we do have to pay some sort of percentage sell-on fees to the likes of Rabat or the likes of any South American clubs that we tie up with. But, it does seem a very sensible thing to be doing. And Niels Koppen does seem to be kind of trying to move the club on and trying to kind of develop that. That those links to bring through better young players and to find better young players from all across the world. And we know, realistically, we can't go shopping in Europe's top 5 leagues. We can't go to France, to Germany, to Spain, to Italy, to England, because the players cost too much. As I've said to you before, players coming out of the Championship now, you're looking at 20, 25 million pounds for them, for decent players. Something Rangers can't afford to pay. What else have we got here? So CJ says, I fear if Igman does get snapped up, a team will go after Koppen next. That's an interesting shout, CJ. We have to put a high price of 20 million on Igman at the moment, as he's young and a long contract, and take anything 15 million up and sell while the price is high. I agree, but I wouldn't sell until the summer. I'd keep hold of him through January. We also need deals with Falkirk to loan academy kids out. That's a good shout. Look at tie-ups with teams in Scotland. Good shout, Airwolf. We need to get our young players more football. We definitely do. I agree with that. Absolutely. Can our B team not join the English lower leagues? I very much doubt, Stuart, they would allow us to do that, because that would then create a dangerous precedent with, Rangers and people saying, why can't we join the Premier League then? Why can't we go and play in England? Milos Verikic joining, took his agent. We'll look into that one. Airwolf says, begs the question is, what if what Coppen's doing was what Wilson was doing? I don't think he was, realistically. Cup should be replayed for the sake of the Scottish game. Eddie, the problem with that, mate, is where does that stop? How many times do you replay it, and how many times on what sort of decisions, And I don't think you can replay it, because even if we'd scored the penalty from the result, there's no guarantee we would have gone on to win the game. So, look, I don't think you can kind of go that way. I really don't. I really don't think we can go that way. But yeah, look, getting back to that topic of what we're talking about here. So this tie-up with Rabat seems to be a very, decent idea from Rangers. It is all about, as Koppen and Clement said, they need to develop the academy. They need to make the academy better. And, if we can get academy players from all across the world, not just from England and Scotland, and we can look globally at bringing in players, that has got to be good for the club, because at the end of the day, we have not got the money we once had to go out and buy player X, player Y, player Z, because there just isn't the funds there. So going all across Europe, going all across South America, across Africa, across North Africa, linking with these clubs is going to be good for Rangers in the long run. And it's developing a long-term strategy for developing players and bringing players through. PC has already said he finds loaning them out a challenge, as none of the teams in Scotland train players the way he wants them to. It's a control thing with him, in my opinion. Frustrating. You've got part of that, I think, has to be that, you don't want your players to go anywhere and be basically ruined by somebody else, do you? You want them to go and have a quality experience. Now, personally, I would be looking to loan them to English clubs, looking at English clubs and looking at sort of championship clubs and league and top League One clubs, because, you look in the English system, there very much is, in England, a very set way of playing football, the tippy-tappy, the ticky-taka, pass. It is very much like that in England. There isn't a lot of the hoof, long ball, kick and rush, foul, low block shit that goes on in Scotland. So, I think that would be a very big positive. Airwolf says Liverpool apparently are very picky on who they loan to. I don't know, mate. I honestly don't know. I don't know anything about them and their loan agreements. I know they send a lot of players out on loan. I know Owen Beck's on loan at Middlesbrough, for example, and Lewis Kumas is on loan at Stoke, I think it is, at this moment in time. So I do know they loan a lot of players out. But, I think tying up with other clubs is going to be good for Rangers in the long run. It really genuinely is. Martin wanted our youngest on loan and was turned down, says Dado. So look, I mean, I like this idea of this agreement. I like this idea of a tie-up with Rabat. I think it's a positive. I think if it means we can develop players, bring players through, we can get better players from Morocco. If we're getting first refusals on players like Hamza Igman and bringing through players like Hamza from these agreements, then it can only be a good thing for Rangers, and it can only help us support the setting up of our trading model. And as well, if we could, loan players out to Rabat or to South America to learn the trade, to play, in a certain way, then it can only be positive for Rangers. It really can. We need to do more youth football in Scotland. Matt, I think that's a great shout. I mean, I think a youth league in Scotland would be a great idea. Or even, if we followed the model that a lot of countries who have smaller leagues, structures than England and Spain, than Scotland, Germany do, and allow B teams to play in the leagues underneath the top league. Now, if you look at sort of Spain, you look at Holland, you look at some of the other leagues around Europe, a lot of teams have B teams that play up to the level below the top league. Now, I honestly believe that, there's ourselves, Celtic, Hearts, Aberdeen would probably put B teams in if that was the case. And it can only be good for two parties. One, it's got to be good for Celtic, Rangers, Hearts and Aberdeen, because they're getting their players to play regularly. They're getting them playing to a competitive standard. They're getting prepped, they're coming into the fit, and you can call those players up, and you're getting the player as a match fit player who's got experience, who's battle hardened, who's ready to play, I don't want to use this word, but ready to play adult football, because there is a massive difference between under 21 and B team football and playing first team football. And it's got to be better for Scotland as well, because at the end of the day, if the Scottish teams, they could even put, with us not being in the EU, they could even put some rule on, for example, saying that 7 out of the 11 players have to be Scottish, or 7 out of the 11 players have to be homegrown players. So, you've got a system there where you're having clubs playing players in the Championship to a good standard, and the Scotland can pick from those players, and they've got more players to choose from for the under-21s. It's got to be good, for the Scottish game as well. So, I don't know why the SFA are so dead set against it. I would go with 3 leagues of 20 with a conference of 20 and a North-South National League with B teams of all clubs in Scotland to enter and go as high as the Championship. Decent shout, Matt. Decent shout. Problem with Moroccan talent is mostly get snapped up by the French teams very early on. I mean, yeah, and hopefully this deal with Rabat is something that will kind of bypass that one, mate. Definitely. Until the money issues are sorted out with TV, there will always be a backwater. I mean, that's the issue. But we've got to look at other ways, therefore, Alex, of raising money, of raising the standards in the Scottish game. And that can come through, like I said, through this system, tying up with foreign clubs, loaning our players to foreign clubs. And hopefully, in the long run, developing some strategy to have B teams playing, at a different level, or at a level of some description so that they play more football. Because at the moment, it ain't working, is it? It really genuinely isn't working. The genuinely is a massive issue in Scotland with bringing young players through. And that's not good for the national team. It really isn't. If you compare that with England, where you've got the Premier League 2 and you've got the under-23s playing in Premier League 2, you've got a constant there for sort of production line of players ready to come into first team football because of the standards in Premier League 2. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the money to have a Premier League 2 in Scotland. But, you know, at the end of the day, why could we not develop some strategy where, like I said, like those smaller countries do, where B teams play in the lower leagues? I don't get it. I don't understand why we can't do it. Right, guys, another topic I want to discuss tonight was first team. Strongest possible first team, guys. Where would you go with your strongest possible first team? Who is in... If everybody... Now, we're going to work on the basis that everybody is fit, okay? That everybody is fit, everybody is available. Yes, I know that's kind of like Disney Fantasyland kind of stuff. I know we're kind of living in a daydream here. But, you know, if you were kind of doing that and you were kind of looking at who is your strongest possible lineup, you know, who would you pick and who would you pick where? Okay, so who would you pick and who would you pick where? You know, what would be, you know, what would be your strongest Rangers team if you could pick your strongest Rangers team? You know, who would you play and, you know, who would you have in, you know, in your strongest Rangers team? You know, what would be, who would be your back four, who would be your midfield, who would be your strikers? You know, what would our strongest 11 if everyone is fit? What would that look like? You know, that's what we're going to explore, you know, sort of in the next few minutes and kind of look at, you know, is who we're going to have and who we're going to play with. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a graphic in a minute when I can remember how to change the formation a little bit. Is it that one there? That button there? Is that it? Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, so who would you have as your strongest lineup? So Matt says his strongest lineup is Butland, Sterling, Suter, Balogun, Ridvan, Raskin, Hadji, Bayrami, Cortez, Igman, and Cheney. Is that a 4-3-3, Matt? Is that a 4-3-3? Well, fair enough. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so Airwolf's gone. Butland, Hiefte, Suter, Balogun, Sterling, Raskin, Barron, Hadji, Cheney, Danilo, and Igaman. Very close to what he picks. Yep, Danilo up front with Hamza. We need to start with two strikers playing. Matt's saying 4-1-2-3. Okay, so 4, 1 protecting the 4, 2, 3. Interesting formation, Matt. Interesting formation. My formation builder has now collapsed, has it? No, it hasn't. It's come back. I'm just trying to remember how to do the team. Here we go. Formation. So I'm going to put it in a 4-2-3, 4-3-3. That's what I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in a 4-3-3. Like Clemon is kind of using at this moment in time. Okay, so let me bring this up on. So Bluebells has his formation here. He says Super Jack, Butland, Sterling, Ridvan, Soapy, Nana, if fit, Raskin, Dio, Hadji, Hiefte, Cherney, and Igaman. I'm tired, off for the evening. Good night. Oh, good night, Alex. Take care of yourself, mate. Hope you are feeling fully back up to it and ready to go soon. Right, let's try and get this share screen up here. Share screen. We're going to share a screen with you in a minute for a lineup builder. This is, I'm going to use lineup builder on the internet. So I'm going to use lineup. This is lineup builder. This is lineup-builder.co.uk on the web. Okay, so let's just do this. Right, so we're going. I think we all pretty much agree, don't we, on Jack Butland in goal. So Butland in goal. Let me see if I can spell Butland right. That would really help. Jack Butland. There we go. Super Jack Butland. Let's put him in goal. Default player. Okay, done. So we've got Jack Butland in goal. Right, so there we go. Right, guys. Strongest right back. Okay. Thank you. Dado's off as well now. Shame people are leaving. Who's going to go in at right back? Who is going to be a right back? Now, a lot of you have said Sterling. You know, even with Tav in the form that he's in, I would still say that Dujon Sterling is our strongest right back, our best right back. So we're going to put Sterling in at right back. There we go. Sterling in at right back. Right, so centre-back pairing. Right. If everybody's fit, who is your strongest centre-back pairing? Who do you like at centre-back? Now, for me, I would say you've got to go with John Suter when he's fit. He is, I think, by far the strongest of the two centre-backs. He's the leader. He's the communicator. He's the better player. Who would you put alongside Sterling? Alongside Suter. Are you going Proper or are you going Balogun? Who is your guy for this position here? I'm going to go for Big Leon. I know that Proper had played better against Celtic on Sunday, but I'm still going to go for Big Leon Balogun there. I still think on his day, if he hasn't got to play 3 games a week, he is the best of the centre backs. Right, who's the best? That's Airwolf. That's a good shout. Proper on a Euro night. Balogun for the league. So what we're gonna do here, Airwolf, is we're going for the strongest league lineup. Who is your strongest league lineup? Right, left back. Who are we going for at left back? Are we going to go for Ridvan, or are we going to go for Hjefte? Airwolf says Hjefte. Anyone else going to put in on this one? If you said everyone's fit, Nana is definitely in there. Says Bluebells are blue. Yeah, I mean, we could go with that. Let's change. Let's have a look. So I'm going to go for Hjefte here. Hjefte at left back. I think that he's a better player than Ridvan. So let's go in there. I agree with Bluebells. Bluebells, you're right. We could theoretically have, instead of Balogun, Nana. I do like, I've got to say, I do like Balogun. I'm going to kind of cheat that a little bit. Airwolf says Hjefte with Fraser as backup, sell Ridvan. Ooh, controversial. Right, my midfield three I'm going to go for here. I'm going to put in my midfield. I'm going to put in here Yanis Hadji. I'm going to put in here Nicholas Raskin. That's not a great picture of Yanis Hadji, is it? Nicholas Raskin. And who would you have? Right, here's the debate. Everybody's fit. Who do you play? Bluebell says Ridvan for me. Hjefte still has a long way to go defending. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bluebells. I like Ridvan. I think he's a good player. I've got nothing against Ridvan. I think he's a good player. I'm just thinking that Hjefte is on better form, and is slightly the better player. Just going forward, he's slightly better. That's why I'm going for him. Right. Who would we go for the other side of Raskin? So Raskin is your 6. Hadji's your more forward-thinking player. Who are you going to go for there? Who are you going to put in? Connor Barron or Diamonde? Guys, let me know in the live chat. No, we're not going to put Dowell in there. Lol. Midfield, Janet wants Raskin, Hadji and Barron. Airwolf says Barron, definitely. So we're going to go Barron, are we? Okay. Do you not think that could be too defensive? Could that be too defensive? But let's go with the majority. A lot of us are saying Barron, so we're going to go with Connor Barron there. Connor Barron. I mean, I'm not against Dio starting there. The form, Dio's in better form at the moment, so I'm not against Dio starting there. Okay, so there we go. Right, so let's go with the attacking three. Okay, so I'm going to clear that off because that's now gone to an advert. I don't know why that's gone to an advert. I'm going to get rid of that, guys, because that's gone to an advert and I don't want to get taken down. 2-3-2. Nana, Sterling, Suter, Raskin, Barron, Hjefte, Hadji, Cherney, Danilo, Igaman. That's decent. Dio, as long as he's playing 8. Yeah, Bluebells, like I said, I've got nothing against him. The best we've played this season is with Raskin, Dio and Hadji. I personally wouldn't play Barron at home. I wouldn't play Barron and Raskin at home. Away from home, yes, I would probably go with Raskin and Barron. And I think that gives us decent strength in depth in there. I still think we need another midfielder, don't get me wrong. But I think that does give us decent strength in depth. Yeah, so I'm going to do it on this banner instead. So our team so far, we've got Butland, we've got Sterling, we've got Suter. Remember, this is if everyone's fit, we are looking at. So I'm going to put Balogun or Nana there. Hjefte at left back. I'm going to put Hadji, Raskin, and then I'm going to put Barron or Dio there because I think that, at the end of the day, you could have either there, depending obviously on who you are playing against and what the game is, home or away. Janet says, that's a hard one. You've got Danilo, Hamza, Cheney, Bayrami. Who do you leave out? Janet, you've forgot someone there. Oscar Cortez. If Cortez is fit, surely he starts. Surely he plays. That's a situation there. For me, I would go with this. If everyone's fit, if we're going 4-3-3 as a formation, which we seem to favour, I would go like this. Butland, Sterling, Suter, Balogun or Nana, if fit. Hjefte at left back. Hadji, Raskin, Barron or Dio, depending if we're home and away. Cheney right, Hamza middle, Cortez on the left. Danny as first change. to come on. That's what I would go with. Bluebell says Barron is the future for me, but right now with our options, he's not the most effective 11 for me. I mean, I think that's a great point, Bluebells. You know, Barron is a good player. He's a very good player. Don't get me wrong, a very, 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 very talented footballer. But I think, you know, away from home, you could justify playing Barron and Raskin. But I just think that Barron and Raskin together, they're very much dogs of war. They're very much two little Rottweilers that get stuck in, that, you know, foul and kick and cause trouble. So for me, you've got to kind of balance that up and look at it away from home. Yes, that's great. But at home, you've got to go a little bit more attacking. You've got to be a bit more offensive. So that's why I would perhaps go with Raskin as the 6, Hadji and Dio, just to be a bit more attacking, a bit more offensive going forward. Janet says, if Cortez is fit, that's another headache. Great point. It is, Janet. It's a massive headache. I think we need but another fast winger in January, as every time Matondo starts looking good, he gets injured, and Cortez is injured all the time too. Matt, that's a great point. We do, I think, need another winger in January. Also, I think, you know, the fact that Tierney probably will leave at the end of the season, we won't get him back because we won't be able to afford him. But yeah, you're right. Cortez has been injured a lot. And Matondo, I think we get rid of Matondo. Yeah, rotate. That's what we need to do. Rotate. I mean, you look at sort of strength in depth at Rangers, you know, at this moment in time. And I think, you know, Butland and Kelly, decent. You've got Sterling and Tav. You've got central defenders. I think we need another centre-back. I do think we need another centre-back. Left back, you've got Hiefte, Barron and Fraser. Midfield, you've got Raskin. You've got Dio, Barron, Hadji. We do need another midfielder, I believe. Up front, you've got Danny and Hamza. We sell Dessers. We bring another striker in, I believe. Cortez left, Cheney right, McCausland as a backup, but I do think we need another winger there and get rid of Matondo. So I do think there is still elements there to strengthen. So I do think we need another midfielder, another striker, another winger, another centre-back. And if we could get 4 players in January, it would be amazing. I don't think that happens. You know, I don't think realistically we can get 4. In my opinion, Dio sometimes blocked hot and cold. He has, but I mean, hopefully his performances are on the up now. Prediction for Hearts game tonight. I'm going 1-0 Petro Club. I didn't even know Hearts were playing, mate, if I'm being honest with you. I paid zero attention to that all day. Really genuinely have. But yeah, I mean, I think strongest 11, you know, you could have rotation in there. You really could. I mean, like I said, there's a number of players, you know, you can look at there and say, well, that's quite strong. That is quite strong. You know, that is fairly decent. I mean, just adding in a few players there. I mean, take out Nana because we know his season's done, but, you know, you've got Butland in goal, you've got Sterling, you've got Suter, Balogun, you've got Proper, you've got, okay, no one after that. You've got Hiefte or Ridvan, you've got Hadji, Raskin and Barron, or you've got Dio to come into there. I think we still need another midfielder in there. Cheney or McCausland, Hamza or Danilo, Cortez or Bayrami. You know, there's some decent strength in depth there now, and the squad is starting to look a bit thicker and a little bit better. But, you know, we need 2 centre-backs, 2 wingers, 1 centre-forward at least. Good shout, Emmy. Now do 5 subs. That's where Phil always fails. Agreed, Emmy. Centre-back and winger in January, then the others in the summer. What about a centre-forward, Matt? Is that if we sell Dessers in January, then we do need to bring in a centre-forward? Subs. I would say the subs that have got... I'll be honest with you, Bluebell. Was it Bluebells that asked the question? Was it Bluebells? No, CJ. CJ, I would want to see more of the young players coming on. I really would want to see more of the young players. I'd want to see Bailey Rice, Cole McKinnon, Zach Lovelace, Finley Curtis coming off the bench and having an impact. Start to see what they can do. Finley Curtis looks a cracking player. Why are we not getting to see him? Let's put him in there. Let's give him his chance. Let's give him his opportunity to really impress. You know, so as for subs, yeah, let's see some of the younger players. We have 3 and then Lovelace and Curtis till the summer. Yeah, I agree. Lovelace and Curtis. Why are we not seeing them? You know, I think Lovelace scored, didn't he, the other night? Let's get them 2 involved. Let's get Lovelace in there. Let's get Curtis in there. Let's get them all having a go and playing. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I think they'll have an impact. I honestly do. Yeah, I don't understand that at all, Joe 90, why Dowell keeps getting a game. I mean, if you asked me this question, Owen, tell us about what Dowell does on a game, I couldn't tell you. I genuinely couldn't tell you because his passing ain't great. He's not fast. He can't go past a man. His crossing's not great. I don't know what he does bring to the team. So for me, Dowell, no, is a big no. I don't know, and I realistically don't know why he puts Dowell on the bench ahead of Curtis or ahead of Rice or ahead of NCO or any of those, you know, people. You know, I don't get it. I don't understand it, and I never will. I really won't. Yeah, Airwolf, good point. Dow, Matondo, Holback, McKinnon, Rice and Curtis. Yeah, I'd rather see McKinnon, Rice, Curtis on the bench than see, and Lovelace, than see the likes of Dow, the likes of Matondo, even to some degree the likes of Dessers. I'd rather see Lovelace over Dessers as well. Should the B team are operating at a loss, the players need brought into the first team to add to their value. When a rebuild season, it's the best time to do it. Agreed, 100% good point. Can't disagree. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we should be using these younger players and bringing these younger players through. Right, guys, that is it for this evening. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast live. Keep your eyes out open for other podcasts throughout the rest of the week. We're going to do a preview pod tomorrow night, so come and join us for that. Preview of the Dundee game. I'm hoping that I can finish work before the Dundee game at the weekend and bring you a live watch along of the Dundee game on Saturday. I'm hoping I can get that done for you. But I've got to finish work on time first. Right, thank you for watching. As always, guys, on the way out, if you can smash the like, sub, comment, share, all that great stuff. But most of all, the most important thing, remember, we are the people.